Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 499. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra. Recovering from a wonderful time this weekend with my son's birthday. We went to Twin Cities Comic-Con. We went to a Grant Gustin panel and just had a great time. Very cool place. Lots of cool stars there. Anakin and the Emperor were there as well.
And I'm sure you can see them from a very great distance. Because I remember when we were at C2E2, he was there. Hayden Christensen was there. There was a huge crowd in like a tent around him. So yeah, there's some of those. So just like he's there and I'm there too. But did you see anybody? Like, did you see him? Like, could you be like, there he is?
No, I didn't even go into any of the thing. There wasn't anybody I really wanted to meet. So yeah. And Grant Gustin was a request of my son's friend Jaden, and so we all went, and it was great. He was really good, just very cool conversational guy.
Yeah, good deal. I like it. Very good. Yeah, our trip to Chicago that you and I did last summer, I think we got to, when it was slow on Friday, got to talk to one or two people, but otherwise those crowds and those lines, it's tough. But at a smaller show, it's definitely easy. I've definitely had a better experience at a smaller show. So that's nice. Yeah, that's nice when you get some of those. But yeah, well, good deal. Good for you. Yeah. Awesome, Jawsome. So yeah, well, cool. Well, we have welcome everyone. This is episode 499. So yes. I've been poking the boys. What's going to happen next week? I don't know, but we do know that it's going to be episode 5.
We will be having an episode, and we will see how it goes.
That much is for certain. But at any rate, I am of course Charlie Carden, your other host. And we got a good show for you. We didn't end up hearing back from Mark, so I guess you and I are flying solo, talking about.
We were supposed to record tonight. He was coming back from HallCon, had a really crappy drive, so he's taking the night off. Yeah, so he's so we're gonna record co-op mode tomorrow night. So
very good. But but anyway, tonight, or in this episode, we were talking about we're wrapping up Agatha all along. We're doing a little series wrap up, which is great, and talking about news and all kinds of fun stuff. But before we do that, as always, like to pay homage to the absolutely spectacular folks in our Patreon Super Squad Secret Friends Unite group of wonderful folks at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. You can try us out for a week for free. Our friend Kurt Krug did so recently. Tried us out. Get 7 days for free, and then stay on board for as little as $2 a month. It's a fraction of a single pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks. Who are you to resist it? I just don't know, but you get lots of great content, such as early content. My show, Code 47, drops 1 or 2 days early, as opposed to the free feed. You get ad-free versions of our other shows, and you get a lot of other great content, including The Facts Geek Life, which is an ongoing show. Todd and I are doing an episode this week about season 7 of The Simpsons, which we've been talking about for quite some time. So be hearing our fun recollections of that program. But at any rate, we would love to have you on board, just like these nice people. My pal Derek here in Grand Rapids, the figure dude. Francie, my wife's hairdresser, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass himself, Luke Lore, and my Uncle Tim, great fella. Over on the Friends with Benefits level, John Sedorf, the awesome Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, friends of the show, Kelly and Crayley, Brendan Myers, Corey and HD, and Matthew Keel. Very grateful for all those folks. And certainly last and top of the pops, never least, with whom there would be not, I'll get that right someday, the awesome Nias family from the Twin Cities, Sean, Still, and Henry. We are very grateful for each and every one of you. Again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. 7-day free trial. Stay on board for as little $2 a month. We would love to have you on board. All right. Boy, the Doom Patrol keeps coming up in these comics, or these covers. Number 99 from, 1965.
They predated X-Men. Yeah,
era of the Beatles. No, X-Men were 63, if I'm not mistaken.
Let
I
me
used
check.
to have I
Pretty
used to have
close, yeah.
we used to have an old T-shirt that said X-Men 63, so I'm almost positive. But at any rate, that's not important. What is important is what the heck is going on with this. Is this
You're
like
right.
a snake?
63, Charlie. You get
Yes.
the no prize.
Oh, good. I want it in writing. We've got so yeah, Doom Patrol from 1965, Robot Man, Elastigirl, Negative Man, the world's strangest heroes, and they are up against what looks like a snake caterpillar, but it's got suction cups what's going on here? I don't know.
Okay, Charlie. So within the Doom Patrol, you do get essentially the original cast, which is Elastigirl, the ones you mentioned, but they introduced a new member, which is Beast Boy, the wildest, weirdest teen tornado in comic history. See him try to blast his way onto the team, plus crawling killers, the fantastic Bugman, and his incredible insect army. So you answered your own question. The Bugman is there.
He's got
Yeah.
he's got the same face as one of those from Beetlejuice, when Beetlejuice turns into some kind, his face gets all stretchy like that. So that must be where that came from. But this first
Yes.
version of Beast Man, green head and just a gorilla body, which is that's like I was a teenage werewolf kind of deal. It's not really great optics, but
Yeah, it's an odd one. Yeah,
yeah.
considering he was not original Teen Titans member, but then he got linked to the Teen Titans. They had him in the Titan show, and it was kind of neat. And they did throw back to his time in the Doom Patrol. They've done that. It's been very cool that they've been able to do that over time.
Yeah, I'm impressed that they have this grouping of characters that they were able to kind of turn on their ear and have kind of an edgy TV show, which I never finished watching. The edge that, what did that run, like 3 seasons?
It ran 3 seasons, and I did not finish it either. I finished the first season, really liked it, and started the second season, and it's very good. It's a very good show. It's definitely a different, weird adult, lots of swearing, a lot of personal issues. It's like a very family drama type show.
Oh, I thought you said it's not a family show. Oh, really? It's a very family show.
Yes.
Oh,
It's a very family show. Yeah.
Well,
Doom Patrol started in 1964, March 1964,
right.
and then it went for like 124 issues. Not a bad run.
Well, how would this have been issue 99 if this was from 1965? Did it say, unless they were publishing every week?
March 1964 was when the first issue went. I don't know.
That is weird. That's some of that legacy numbering, I guess. I don't know. Well, speaking of legacies, a true legacy of this podcast would be about to celebrate a golden birthday. What do they call 125 years? Not a sesquicentennial. That's 150 years.
A quarter centennial.
A quadrillion.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are talking about our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb, who will hit that mile marker on January 1st of 2025. But as always, she is down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine with the latest scoops and news for us. So let's go have a look.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Welcome, Madam Webb. Thank you so much for your devotion to news. Unfortunately, because our news corporations will be ending, that you'll be looking into the wonderful world of animal husbandry and trapping.
Hey,
for trapping.
What do they always say in the Flintstones? Or they like the pelican that they were scooping cement out of him? It's a living.
Yes. Every animal had to be used as a contraption.
Exactly. So, well, we talked about this on Code 47, which you probably already heard if you're listening to our show. But we are in the fan world commiserating the passing of Tony Todd, who in his 40-year career in acting was a legend in the Star Trek community, playing several different roles. And even when we were recording Code 47, we had our friend Tom Selinsky on, our British author friend, who reminded me of some roles of Tony Todd's in Star Trek that I was not remembering. He was, of course, the older Jake Sisko. In an episode, he played a couple of different aliens, but he was most notable to me as Worf's brother, Kern. But who could forget the CandyMan? I know we watched those movies last year again. Very terrifying turn. Of course, he was the anchor that anchored the delightful Final Destination films. He was, I think, a cop or a coroner or both in those movies. But he was Johnny Exposition.
He was Death, right?
He was.
Wasn't he Death?
No, no. He was a dude, but he was just.
I thought he was Death. Like he was the embodiment of death.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. But it was Tom who said it best. He said he was Basil Exposition because he would come on and tell the whole story. Yes, he was.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, from Call of Duty, Final Destination, he was in the most recent. Was it Spider-Man video game? He was Venom.
Yes, he was Venom in the last one. Yep, and his last role will be Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the video game that's coming out in December.
And I forgot to mention this, talking about it over on Code 47, but he was a guest at our local show a couple of years ago when April and I had a booth. I had stepped away to use the bathroom or something. He came by the booth, our Star Trek booth, sat in the captain's chair, got a picture, reeking of weed, and was flirting with my wife. It was a great story that I cannot believe I missed. Super bummed out.
Nice.
Did not
hey, Tony.
Yeah,
get at it. It's really interesting that he didn't start acting until he was 32. That's kind of late to the craft.
Right. And what was I'm looking at this word. What was he doing before then? I mean, does it? I'm trying to see if we can pull that out of this article.
Physicist. I don't know.
He was a rocket scientist and a brain surgeon. But
I mean, I'm assuming his IMDb will say like what his I will look it up and I will tell you. Keep riffing.
Wikipedia. No, absolutely. Like I said, Star Trek, TNG, DS9, Voyager, MacGyver, Smallville, On the Big Screen, Night of the Living Dead, The Crow, Wishmaster, Night of the Living Dead remake. You know, we talked about Candyland. You'd mentioned Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, his final voice acting role. Star Trek Online, so more Star Trek. Call of Duty, Black Ops 2, Masters of the Universe, that the most animated version, The Flash, Transformers. Transformers Prime isn't the one that just came out. But this dude was always working. He was totally nonstop. All right, so what's the story?
He was a theater actor.
Oh, okay.
Really, that's where he got to start. So it made the transition into like television, and quite honestly, because of his voice and his presence, he really was able to get both TV, movie roles, and always make an impression.
Super talented. And at the time, and maybe this article is a different story, but at the time of what we were reading, his cause of death was not reported. So regardless, a very, very, very big loss for the entertainment world in general, but certainly the genre world in particular. So rest in power, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Tony Todd. He will be missed.
One small bit, if you look at his television career, Charlie, he was like on every like genre show, Jake and the Fat Man, Cop Rock, Matlock, MacGyver, but he was also on the Fox show Werewolf. So there you go.
That show,
remember
it's
that
so
Chuck
funny
Connors show?
Because I've said this before, because my mom worked for the burgeoning Fox network in 1987. And I was 11 years old. That station was always on our TV. So I watched every single early Fox show, beginning of Married with Children, Tracy Ullman show, that show, several others that I couldn't even mention. But yeah, Werewolf, awesome. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, the guy who played the main character in that, I think, was a soap actor. And I don't know that he went on to do anything else.
Chuck Connors, he was the rifleman.
No. He was the old dude. There was a young,
the old dude. Okay.
Got it. I'm talking about
Yep.
the young guy. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah,
I don't remember him.
Yeah. Well, exactly the point. So, all right. What do we got next? Oh my God. So excited.
Yes. So, Brazil, what was it? D23 Brazil was this weekend. So they had a lot of things that came out with Marvel. And one of the things they did show is they showed an extended or a different cut of the Thunderbolts trailer. They showed more of the Captain America movie. And then we got a new trailer for What If Season 3. And this is kind of interesting because we are getting new characters, including Moon Knight, Agatha Harkness. We're also getting our first appearance of an X-Men tied to the MCU.
God.
With Storm basically wielding Thor's hammer.
Oh my God. And it was funny because we watched this trailer obviously just earlier today because it just dropped. And that was part at the end of April when, ooh, and I said, that is pulled from a comic cover. It was one of the X-Men annuals, probably about 1985, maybe annual 9 or 10, if I'm not mistaken, that I hope that they do a facsimile cover of that because of this, because I will buy that and I will slap that on the wall in my den. That was a beautiful cover. Love that story. So yeah, very, very exciting. And so this is going to drop on December 22, which is a Sunday.
Yep, and they're doing the same episode rollout. They're doing one a day.
One a day for 9 days, yeah, which is great. So it'll take you through the holiday season. And I remember reading some blurb bitching about that, like, well, that's why nobody saw it or knew about it, is because it came out around the holidays, and how would anybody know? I'm like, because it's streaming, and once it's over, you just watch it. So that's why streaming is good.
What else you gonna do? It's Christmas break. I mean, you're either watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or you're drinking heavily, or arguing with your family.
You get up in the morning and it's 22 minutes. You watch it, and then the next day you watch it again. It's a dream come true.
Or you forget it came out, and then when you watch it, when you realize it's there a week later, it's all there.
That's exactly. So there's this.
Everything eventually is bingeable.
Yeah,
exactly. I always tell people.
Yeah,
don't worry, it'll be there all later.
Yeah, I know The Penguin just ended, and I'd only watched 2 episodes. Now I can watch the rest of it because it's out. So that's perfect.
It's like Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad originally was not bingeable,
right?
But you had to wait all those seasons to show up on Netflix, and then it was. So people just assumed, oh, that's how they dropped Breaking Bad. No,
right. No.
Oh, well.
That was back in the dark time. So this is very exciting. But this overall, at least the trailer gave me the vibe, was that this will be one really kind of continuous story. So really a lot, very similar to the way a lot of
building to that.
As opposed
to maybe a one-off or something, we're bringing back the one character of the Native American characters. It looks like she's back.
Right.
They're building on a lot of the Avengers we've been introduced before, and they're doing like a Voltron where they get the rings of power are brought in to basically form these robots. We do have Shang-Chi involved.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
you have Cap Falcon being actual. Gonna draw a blank on his name. Who's the guy? Who's the voice? Who's the star of Captain America?
Yes.
I really can't remember his name. Oh my God,
Steve Rogers.
No. The actor, you dolt.
James Rhodey.
James, that's the guy. But yes. I love it. So the single Robo Avenger powered by the 10 rings. So that's that's a twist. I like that. So yeah, I'm looking for it. Definitely look forward to that stuff. So that will be great. That'll be the like as Todd was saying, if you need a way to get away from your in-laws. Oh, sorry, got to watch Marvel. Go watch it in the.
Perfectly excellent excuse.
Right, exactly.
Sure, they would care.
Exactly. So Fallout is getting a season 2. We did know this. And when the hell is it going to come out? Because doesn't it take like 5 years for anything to come out these days?
It seems like 2 years is like the new standard for streaming. They take longer. They're not doing as many episodes, and they're also, I think, allowing a lot of actors to do other things. Versus basically old TV was like you had like 3 months off, and then it was like back to filming, and then you're filming for 6 months, and then you get 3 months off.
It's like you were a teacher. You kept like the teacher student schedule. You got summer break, and then you're right back to work. So and working 12-hour days. That's the way it was working on a show back in the day. So so what's going on?
So there's not much here, but it's kind of neat that we're going to expect more world building in season 2. Macaulay Culkin has joined the cast of season 2 in a recurring role. He's described as a crazy genius type character. And I'm so happy for Macaulay Culkin. He looks very happy. He looks like he's very, I thought he was going to fall off a cliff. I thought he was going to be like a drug kid because he got so much fame at first.
Yeah.
And then, obviously we've seen his brother, Kieran Culkin, who is in
Succession.
Succession and Succession. Yeah. Is there another Culkin, or is there just the 2?
I feel like there's another one. I don't know if that person is an actor.
Like the Baldwins or
or the Wayans or the what's another?
God,
damn kids. The Osmonds, of course. None of them ever.
Kieran, Rory. His mom, his aunt is Bonnie Bedelia.
Oh my!
Interesting.
My yes, the
Kit
wife.
Culkin is his mother,
the wife
or father, and Rachel Miner is his spouse. I thought he was married to Brenda Song. Oh no, that's his partner, not married. His current partner is Brenda Song, and she is a beautiful lady.
Absolutely correct. So good. So he's coming into that show, but you're right. The deadline blurb on this says nothing else about the production of the show. So
They
I'm
probably
going to
can't say much.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2027. And then just riding off the back of this, there was a blurb about a much rumored, or at least one of these, like Two of the Stars said, we'd really love to do this, an animated return of Smallville to kind of continue that story, which
From the guys who do a Smallville podcast.
Yeah,
They do
shocking.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, because if you're not listening to us, you're probably listening to at least one podcast of a show that you loved from the early 2000s, where two of the people who are not actors who are acting a lot are doing a podcast. I'm not throwing shade. I apologize.
Exactly.
You know what? And if you listen to those shows, you know what? They get ad revenue. They make money. They make money doing it, which I think is fantastic.
They know there's a hunger for it. They know there's a hunger for it. There was some other just like small blurbs I saw. There was rumors that the Barry Keoghan Joker from the Batman was going to get a TV series. That's not true. James Gunn said, nope, not true. The next Batman project we'll get is Batman 2 coming in 2026. And then after that... Who
Batman
knows?
3, it says here. It says the Batman Part 3. So they've already...
Correct. And that'll be 2029 then. If it's the next one is 2026, then the third one will be then. Yeah, but and apparently we may get more spin-off characters in the Batman universe because the Penguin is getting lauded with so much love that it would be dumb not to indulge that world and have it work.
You'd be a waddling fool. All right, this next one. I see how you snuck in something about video games, so I'm just going to let it go. I'll let it slide. What do you got?
Well, this one's kind of cool, Charlie.
Sure.
Mass Effect is one of my favorite universes of any comic book, TV series, or whatever. Mass Effect is very much like a cool mixture of Star Trek and Star Wars, where you get essentially a crew on a ship exploring and doing things. And this is all about a team that gets put together by a leader called Commander Shepard. And
point of order, Todd, everybody knows that somebody can't like Star Wars and Star Trek. It's the rules. that is my
maybe one person.
You know that's the cliche out there that makes me the most insane, that people say, "Oh, I'm more of a Star Wars person." Like that's a way to start a conversation.
It's weird, yeah. It's very odd that you have to take a side, or you can't be friends. But I like them both. Sometimes I like one better than the other, depending on what's happening. But this series is very cool. It's pretty much a modern sci-fi universe that has the scientific aspects, the character building elements of Star Trek, but definitely more action-packed. Like a Star Wars, but it's dealing with many different alien species, planet exploration. You've got choices that reflect on good or bad decisions, and your character changes accordingly. You can romance people if you want. You can make enemies.
In a video game?
Yes, in a video game.
Making out with the controller?
Absolutely. Romancing is big. So there's been 3 video games. There's actually 4 if you count like the one that came after that. There's been novels and like animated things. So now they're making a TV show of it for Amazon.
It's where that kind of stuff thrives, because it's not it certainly wasn't the other side of that coin, which was the Master Chief, which I know really fell off a cliff for a lot of people, myself included.
Yes.
We waited through that second season. I was just like, I'm looking at my phone. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, this works a lot better because actually the main character speaks and has relationships. It's more about that. And
how much butt do you see? And
you get a little bit, like I said, there's romancing, so there's a little bit of skin.
Okay.
And the cool part about the game is you can choose to be a female or male shepherd.
Okay.
And so they call the female FemShep. That's her like nickname. Everybody calls her. And so there's a curiosity about, will they pick the female or the male character to be kind of like the prototype for the movie or the TV show? We don't know. My hope was that Ron D. Moore would have been behind this show, because obviously it's his wheelhouse, rather than now he's doing a fantasy series. We are getting, this is the one thing that makes me a little nervous about this, Daniel Casey, who wrote F9, The Fast Saga, Kareem Zarek, who was behind Daredevil, and Ari Adad, Ghost in the Shell. is behind this. Plus, there's also someone involved in the video game. Michael Gamble is involved as well. So I'm a little nervous that this is who's behind it. But Amazon has spent a lot of money on a lot of series, so hopefully it's good.
Todd, spending money on a lot of things is what makes things good. Everybody knows that. Because you can't not spend money and have
spending. I was going to say you could spend a little bit of money and then have no special effects.
There you go. It's just you just look at this ball on a stick going past the green screen.
Have you heard of Hardware Wars?
Oh, I saw it when I was a kid. I think I watched it fairly recently. It's definitely still out there. All right. So speaking of things that are completely fantasy, let's talk about Star Wars movies, because you know what? There's a new rumor almost every week, and it was our mutual best friend John who said to us, "I will believe any rumor about a Star Wars movie when I'm sitting in a theater and the lights go down and it comes on the screen."
Yes.
So yes, the latest rumor is Simon Kinberg, who has a pretty good reputation, somewhat, for doing stuff, is now tapped for a new trilogy. Episodes 10, 11, and 12 are apparently going to be under his wing. Now, how does this, and this is where I really wish Mark was here talking to us about this. I'm sure we will discuss this next week on Holocron when we record, but how is this going to tie in with other things they've talked about? Does this clear the slate? We know that Mandalorian Grogu is actually being filmed right now. Star Wars hasn't actually shelved something that's been filmed. That's a level they haven't gone to. They could have with Solo, but they decided to reinvest and refilm it. So I don't know, man. So talk to me about Simon Kinberg. So what has he done? What's his bio?
Simon Kinberg is a pretty well-known producer, sometimes writer, and he is rarely directed. He has directed, unfortunately, Charlie, and written some of the worst X-Men films. He also wrote the Fantastic Four film you love so much.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I don't know how you get over that. So, yeah, the X-Men movie in question, I believe, was Dark Phoenix from 2019? 1819?
Yes, Dark Phoenix 2019, he directed and wrote it.
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah, there was, what a perfect time for the universe to die off. I feel like maybe the Fox merger had happened by that point, but they had already made this, so they were just like, man, what? It turned into a Spumco film, or it was a forerunner to a Spumco film. They're like, we're going to make trash. It doesn't matter. And then that Fantastic Four movie in 2015, the less said about it, the better. I saw it. Todd didn't, and I will never watch it again. And speaking of the Fantastic Four, that was going back to the Brazil D23. I did watch a scrambled, a phone cam video of the trailer of the sizzle reel. So I've seen some footage about people going, yay! And then all of the, caps being in Spanish. So I feel like I've seen something.
Very good.
But anyway, so
very good.
I just don't really believe anything with Star Wars anymore. I've kind of lost my ability to get excited about anything because there's just no follow through. So that's this week's rumor, and I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say.
What does Simon Kinberg and the director of the Fantastic Four movie have in common?
And the director of the film that's Matt Shackman? You mean the upcoming?
No.
You're talking about
the old one.
That wasn't that was Trank. Oh, he also got fired from Star Wars, didn't he? Yeah.
So they were both attached to Star Wars things. One was fired and one is yet to be fired. So we talk about things that don't happen.
What do they call a pre-pink slip letter? Like a maybe beige of some kind, or chartreuse, kind of something turning into red?
I would have a lot more confidence in this if he was just producing it, because I will tell you his writing credits really quick, Charlie. Triple X State of the Union, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, X-Men The Last Stand, Jumper, Sherlock Holmes. Okay, that's what he wrote all of those. He wrote This Means War with Mick G. He wrote X-Men Days of Future Past. Okay. That's like I would say the one good thing he wrote.
I mean, I adore that film. I could watch it over and over again. So I'm impressed.
Yep. Yeah. So then he did Fantastic Four. X-Men
2015.
Apocalypse. He wrote Dark Phoenix. He wrote the 555 and the Killer's Game. So as you noted it, his success rate of writing is like 1 for 10.
So 10%.
So yes. So I would not be too optimistic if I was a Star Wars fan. Maybe he loves Star Wars, and that's why he's brought into the film. Or maybe he's a good producer, and they're like, "You can make stuff happen, and we need to make stuff happen."
Right.
So I don't know, and we don't know if this is going to be like another jump forward 30 years when Rey is. 52.
There was conversation that I thought was somewhat firm, and maybe this speaks to that as we drill down a little bit, that the Rey Jedi Academy movie was going to take place. There was at one point they were saying it's going to be so distant in her future, the role will be played by Helen Mirren, which I think would be incredible. Her get a body double for Helen Mirren flipping around and shit. That'd be really something. But yeah, I just can't put much of anything into any of this because 3 movies about Dawn of the Jedi, the Mandoverse, which is a team-up movie which would follow the Grogu-Lorian, a Lando Calrissian movie, a movie by Taika Waititi that some of it had been shot for, a Rian Johnson trilogy that they haven't actually said isn't going to happen, or the Rogue Squadron movie which comes and goes and comes and goes. I mean, is Star Wars just lost to films? Is it just going to be television now? I mean, has it pulled a reverse Star Trek? You know what I mean? That was another. There's
more TV content with Star Wars than there's movies. So you couldn't really claim that Star Wars is a movie franchise or franchise anymore.
Right. I mean, I read a headline today, and this was backing up something else that. Absolutely, for the 60th anniversary of the Star Trek franchise, there will be a film called an origin film predating like the period of Star Trek Enterprise with Scott Bakula. It's a headline I read just today, and then it'll mostly take place on Earth. So I'm like, it already sounds like trash, and next week it'll be gone. You know what I mean? So it's just Star Trek is not really made for films, and Star Wars we always felt with the epic scale and the way things move and the explosions and the action just seems really great on film. So it's had its struggles on television. We do know that Andor is coming back. That's an announcement. We always knew that it was going to have a second season, but we got a date of April of next year. That's the only thing of Star Wars in 2025 that has really got my engine racing. You know what I mean?
Is there anything else
on screen? I mean, they snuck in the little little animated Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire. Those were little surprises that just kind of popped up. But yeah, I would have to dig in to tell you if there's really anything that they really have committed to for 2025. So I don't know.
No, I'm looking at it right now for Polygon as of November 8th. Andor season 2.
Yep.
And that is it.
Yes.
The Mandalorian Grogu 2026.
Right.
And then everything else is undated. Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Then a lot of movies.
Yep.
Maybe another Tales of the Jedi or what is Star Wars Visions?
Yeah. A little bit animated shorts, which again, those have an audience, but it's more limited, and it's the TV audience. It's the animated audience. Some people just don't really dig into that. They want to see a Star Wars film. So yeah, I just the goodwill that they've had is ebbing with people being patient, I think, without a doubt, with Star Wars. So I really just honestly wish they would get their act together. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't get it, Kathleen. Is it going to take Kathleen Kennedy going away for this for something to really change?
I always wondered, was she supposed to stick around this long? Was she supposed to just establish it and say, now let it go and flourish? And because it didn't do what it needed to, she stuck around? Like Kevin Feige. I don't know how long Kevin Feige is going to be around. I mean,
well, he's
done more than enough.
I mean, he's not, Kathleen Kennedy is, kind of beyond retirement age. She's 60, 65, whatever it is. But, it's not like it's a demanding job. She probably could keep, doing it. I mean, our new president's going to be 80, though less said about that, the better. But still, people can keep working, I guess. I just don't know if it's going to take a quote unquote regime change in Star Wars for things to finally get back to a place where a lot of us feel like it should be. But anyway, not a problem to be solved today, but Satan can help in this next trailer of a film that's coming to from Farrelly Brothers that is coming to Paramount Plus. I'm guessing next month. I'm looking for a release date, but Todd, what do we got?
Yeah, so we are getting a new film. It's a holiday film, which is very fun, and it's called Dear Santa. But that's not the premise of the movie. The premise of the movie is about a little boy who writes to Santa. It even calls out that he is not a good speller, and he unfortunately writes a letter to Satan. The Satan character in question gets the letter, decides to answer it, and is played by Jack Black. And this is directed by Bobby Fairley, if you know him. You know, the guys, the classic Fairley brothers who have done like Dumb and Dumber, Long Came Mary, or
something about Long Came Mary is a
something
song.
About Mary.
Something About Mary was the movie.
Long Came Polly, that was the other one, right? Was that
right?
Yes,
With Jennifer Aniston.
So
right.
Yes. So, and basically the concept is going to be basically he can answer the little boy's 3 wishes, but then he gets his soul.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Black is playing it kind of comedic. He's Jack Black, so he does what Jack Black does. And it's going to have Robert Timothy Smith playing the boy. Liam Keegan Michael Key is in it. Post Malone is in a cameo. And then... yeah, it's coming to Paramount Plus this November 25th.
Oh, there you go.
In time for Thanksgiving.
Ooh, perfect.
So something fun. I like some of these holiday films. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad.
This year's version of 1978's the Star Wars Holiday Special, which also came out at Thanksgiving that year. I'm sure it'll go down in history as just as much of a classic. This looks adorable. And again, for my money, and again, everybody's preferences are different. Paramount Plus is probably my favorite streamer because it has the most stuff that I enjoy, including, but obviously limited to things that you would find on the Paramount Network, which we will talk about in a minute.
Everything Charlie loves that's in common with senior citizens are on Paramount Plus.
Yes. All of
Charlie's demographic.
All of the NCISs. Did I tell you we watched the first episode of the prequel? The NCIS Origins. Wow. I mean, it was funny because I reached out to my mom and I'm like, hey, are you watching the new show? Because Mark Harmon is going to come back and he's going to cameo, or he's going to kind of be the narrator, whatever.
He's going to narrate it.
And she says to me, she's like, I gave up after that one they did in Australia. It sucked. And they canceled the one I liked. And I'm like, how do you know the difference? Aren't they all the same? It's like,
I was going to say, not as good as season 3. There's like 85 seasons.
Yeah, the original show has been on for 25 years, or at least that's the way it feels. Oh my gosh. So good stuff. Well, that does take us out of the news. So it is time for me to get out my feeble Uber app. We've got to get down to the Geek Easy. And there's only one way to get there, by calling the grossest, nastiest cab company in town. Cab pulls up, sputtering smoke out the back. It smells like hot garbage inside of this cab, but the AM radio is on, and I hear this very familiar commercial.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. I'm still catching up on things, getting through Hysteria. I'm really needing to catch up on the Penguin, but I did choose to see a movie on Friday, and that movie was called Heretic.
I've been wondering about that. Have I seen trailers from it, or is it just kind of like a small?
I think it's Hugh Grant is playing basically the big bad in this.
Okay.
It's about the premises. Two Mormon girls are going around doing mission work, basically to find people that want to hear more about the Church of Latter-day Saints, and they're going to talk to them and give them, more information.
Yeah.
And they're all about, trying to get numbers to save, to get baptisms and things like that. The two young girls are really good actresses, really amazing. One of them I think is from Yellow Jackets, Charlie, and the other one is from, I'll have to look it up, but very good, strong performances by these two young girls who are basically coming in to basically give Hugh Grant more information. Let's see, Chloe East and Sophie Thatcher.
Yeah, Sophie Thatcher. That was
Yep.
She was and she was also in the daughter in The Whale, the Brendan Meyers Brendan Fraser's big comeback film, which came out last year.
Got it. And Chloe East was the daughter in The Fabelmans. So
there you go. Okay.
There's not a lot of other actors in this movie, and it essentially is them going to talk to Hugh Grant about explaining Mormonism.
Yeah.
And he then asks them into their home, and then it becomes from the trailer, I won't give anything away that wasn't in the trailer. Basically, it's kind of a challenging of faith between the girls and his own proclivities and what he is trying to challenge them with. And you see that basically the premise comes down to he's kind of trapped them, but he says, "Oh, you can leave, but you have to choose one door. Belief or disbelief. There's two doors." And that's the premise of this movie. I don't want to give too much away. Hugh Grant is amazing in this. The way he performs, you always think he's kind of stuffy, and he is a little stuffy in this film. But when he does certain things, it's pretty amazing. Playing a British guy again.
He's playing a British guy.
Yeah, he's right in his wheelhouse. He's not putting an American. I don't know if he's ever played an American, to be honest. It might be weird if he did. Maybe he can't. Yeah. But it's very unnerving, and the premise is very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And you are left with kind of some questions at the end of the day. What actually happened? And it kind of reminds me of The Black Phone in certain ways. So take it as you will, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it's a great movie, thriller. There's really I don't want to give anything else away. I'll say it's more of a thriller than it is like a horror film.
I mean, when you started to talk about it, I'm like, oh God, is this a Jesus-y film? But if you're saying it's a thriller, you say he's a big bad, so I'm like, that doesn't really sound like much, but obviously if there's more underneath the surface, it could have. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the what we typically think of are the atheists are the nice people, the religious people tend to be nuts. It's kind of turned on its other head. The atheist tends to be kind of a bad dude. So
I mean, a bad dude is a bad dude, but yeah, absolutely, you're right. It's kind of subverting expectations would make it worth watching.
Exactly, that's the best way to put it.
So, I saw a film that apparently has absolutely bombed, which really depressed me because it's one of the best things that I've seen as far as an emotional core story that I've seen in the theaters in a long time, and that is Robert Zemeckis' latest picture, which reunites Tom Hanks, national treasure, and Robin Wright for the first time since Forrest Gump in 1994, 30 years gone by. But that is the movie called Here. And it is set in, and it's funny because, I'm a geography whiz. So they pin this down to kind of exactly where it is, because what it has to do with it is literally a single camera film, in so much that it provides a single vantage point for a nearly 2-hour film. So you are seeing a single place on Earth, which, believe it or not, I pinned down to the town of Perth Amboy, New Jersey, which is across the river from Staten Island to the west, going southwest outside of New York City.
They talk with a New Jersey accent.
They absolutely no one really speaks with an accent. Well, one of the stars of this, which is the father character played by Paul Bettany, who is of course British, does a really bad American accent. Really really bad. But no, it literally has to do with it begins in prehistory, where you see, you see a dragonfly flying by, and then you see dinosaurs thunder past, and then you see that absolutely beautiful meteorite smash down and annihilate the Earth. The Ice Age comes, the Ice Age goes. You then go into kind of pre-Columbian times with the Lenape Indians, who, as everyone knows, inhabited the Hudson Valley and that general overall area of the East Coast. And I'm probably screwing up those details. I apologize. But the thing that really pinned it down before we get to, obviously, the Forrest Gump portion of it was the home of William Franklin, the illegitimate son of Benjamin Franklin, who was the last colonial governor of New Jersey before the Revolutionary War in 1763. I looked it up. So
this house is on an Indian burial grave.
They do actually find Indian artifacts in the movie. That's actually a part of it.
Oh, good. So it's Poltergeist.
No Poltergeist.
So this is the origin of Poltergeist.
The good news is those were in the backyard. So stay out of the backyard. But anyway, it spans obviously from prehistory to almost current day, but our character,
but 90% with Tom Hanks,
but no, maybe 60% with Tom Hanks. But yeah, you get good patches. As I said, Paul Bettany. You have the actress who is Beth on Yellowstone, whose name I'm always forget. Very, very pretty lady. She's also a Brit, maybe Irish. Penn and Wright. So it does transition back and forth. The way I said about the home of William Franklin is his house is the constant because it was a plantation that, as time went by, houses were built around it, including this house. You do see them digging the house and starting to build it up. And then you see the different stories of a couple from the early 19th century, the middle of the 19th century, and then Paul Bettany and his wife's character move in after World War II. He's a vet. They buy the house. And then you watch the story of the house. Tom Hanks is their son. And they did probably the most passable de-aging aspect of it, because they have to de-age them from about 1964 to now. So think about that. Tom Hanks, basically the way he looked in like Splash or Bosom Buddies, and Robin Wright in whatever the hell the first thing that she was in, to present day. And I really think they pulled it off. As much as you can believe Tom Hanks looking like a 16-year-old kid. A lot of heart in it. Todd, I know you don't go for really the mushy stuff. It's not your scene. Typically.
Well, I've heard reviews of it. They said it's very sappy, and it's like not even trying to be sappy, but it's really trying to be sappy. Yeah. Because I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes, like 36% critics, 58% audiences.
That's rough.
I've not heard. I've heard this movie. It hits with some people, probably not for others. To me, I looked at it, I'm like, I could care less. I have no interest.
And that's a tough one for Robert Zemeckis, who is one of the more storied filmmakers in the last 40 years. Gave us Back to the Future, gave us Forrest Gump, you know what I mean?
But he loves technology. I mean, he's done that Tom Hanks movie with Santa Claus. He loves technology, and that's what he wanted to do with this. So sometimes I think he's a little too much focused on the technology.
He did the technology of making that volleyball come to life. Didn't that happen in that movie?
Yes.
Where it was like Jack Frost. I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering that. It was a long time ago. But anyway, I enjoyed it. But as Todd makes a good point, that it's probably very niche. So probably an okay one to wait for on streaming. That's all right. And it was another one of those films that had like 50 production company logos at the front end of it, like Moving Train Pictures, Landing. So one of them, it was Sony and Paramount. So who knows where you're going to see it, but it'll be out there somewhere. So Todd's very excited because Yellowstone is back. After a 2-year break. We were bitching about this in the pre-roll. Yellowstone, which is, it's a neo-cowboy drama. That's how they described it on Wikipedia. Is only available on something called the Paramount Network, which is a cable channel that I feel like has no other programming. I don't know.
It's like if FX didn't have Hulu,
it didn't spin back to Hulu. Because it doesn't. So for both this is season 5 part 2, but for the first part of season 5, we paid like $12 or something, and we got that, and then I paid another $12 to get this, because why not? But it's very, very famously, Kevin Costner bowed out of this show. It was very public within the last 2 years to make the movie that killed Todd's summer movie bracket, that did the Horizon Part 1, which did so poorly that Part 2 is just gone. I think it just doesn't exist. It just went.
We never know. We'll never know. Maybe we will know.
But I will tell you that unsurprisingly, the issue of Kevin Costner on the show is resolved very quickly, and I will say no more.
He was gored by a bison.
I literally said, because the first scene walks, one of the other cowboy characters is apropos to nothing, walks out of the barn and the moon is rising. And I roll over to April and say, oh, look, there's John Dutton, who's his character. He's being mauled by a bear in the distance.
Is it Cole Hauser's now like the lead character now?
Yeah, it's Cole Hauser, and that I keep calling her Kelly Riley because Beth is, I'm not, her last name is Riley. I'm not sure of her first name. Beth Dutton, who's the firecracker, would just as soon stab you with a broken beer bottle kind of gal. Every guy's dream. They're a married couple, but they're both super toxic people. And then the main villain is Wes Bentley, of course, famous.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's the adopted son, but it becomes very quickly clear that he's not up to such great stuff. So I don't want to spoil it. But if you're a Yellowstone viewer, you probably have done what I've done, which you've gone back and purchases on VOD. I do that through Fandango/Vudu. The other seasons are available on Peacock. But everything else that Tyler Sheridan makes, who's the guy behind the show, is on Paramount Plus. So another plug for Paramount Plus. You can watch The Lioness, 1883, 1987, 1065. Just throw four numbers together. He made a show. 6666, which was the Cowboy Ranch one. I don't know. Anyway, it's a fun show if you don't take it too seriously, much like anything. Finally, doing the old roulette, looking for made for streaming movies last night, and I stayed away from Netflix because that's April's forte. But we watched a movie with the Maze Runner kid. Was it Dylan O'Brien? Called Caddo Lake. I don't know, Todd, you heard anything about this one? So
I don't think so.
It has to do with this young kid riding in a car with his mom in 1989, and the car goes off the rails into Caddo Lake. And he manages to wrest himself free, but he can't get her out and she drowns. And the next scene you see him, he's back at work, even though he was all cut up, and it makes it sound like it happened instantaneously. And then, apropos to nothing else, this guy has an estranged daughter who grew up without him, and his baby mama, who's remarried and has a young adopted stepdaughter. And you start to figure out that all of these pieces are interrelated, and that this Caddo Lake and these swamps around it is actually waves of the multiverse. It's a science fiction film. It's portals in time. So you start to figure out, well, the stepdaughter maybe isn't anybody's stepdaughter. Maybe she's a character from the past. It's actually ended up, because April and I were watching it, it's, hour and 52 minutes or something, or hour and 45 minutes. And I'm like, all right, this is a pretty low budget, whatever, but they start wandering in the swamps and they start going through ripples in time. So, it's night and then it's day and then it's night again. And then, I'm in 2024, but now I'm in 2003, and what does that all mean? So I was impressed. And by the end, we had to pause it and talk about it and figure out, well, what about this character? And how do they end up back there? But how does that relate to the fact that in the present day it's this and that? So it does take some putting down your phone, which I'm not always super great about when I'm watching something on TV, to really tune in. But I thought it was worthwhile, and had an ending where it wasn't a happy ending, which is good. Sometimes you got to have a Infinity War instead of just an end game. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Very good.
Very good. Well, that is it for the Geek Easy. Skipping out on the bill yet again, because I know he spit in my chicken quesadilla. I don't like it. But I've got up my Air Qantas app. Time to get down to the land down under, because Hologram Tina and the mutants are waiting for us to talk about the spoiler cast of the series of Agatha All Along. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we are wrapping up Agatha All Along. It ended about 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Maybe 2 weeks ago.
It all blends together.
Why not?
Yeah, because they dropped the last 2 episodes together the
Right.
same day, just like they dropped the first 2 episodes.
Right.
So it's a very shortened
was
season for duration.
7 weeks instead of 9. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we got the series. This is made in 2024. Spellbound Agatha Harkness regains freedom thanks to a teen's help. Intrigued by his plea, she embarks on the Witch's Road trials to reclaim her powers and discover the teen's motivations. Catherine Hahn, Joe Locke, Shazir Zamata, Elian,
Shazir Zamata, so nice try.
Patty LeBone, Deborah Jo Rupp, Audrey Plaza, David A. Payton, and that's probably all you need to know.
Ali. Did you say Alian? Ali Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I kind of stopped after the first 6.
Yeah,
or 8.
Yeah. Then you get into all the bit players. Absolutely correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this series was kind of unexpected. Obviously, WandaVision came out in 2021, and we saw that Agatha was basically banished and kind of not expected to come back. But you know what? Agatha found a way. So this series essentially opens up 3 years after the series, so kind of 2024, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well,
and she's
actually, let me put my glasses up. Because of the time dilation, because of the snap, the first season or WandaVision was 2023, so this is actually 2026. Believe it or not.
Yes. Now I feel dumber. So at this point we get some really cool, the way it works out, we do get some manipulation of things, but really opens up with Agatha as a cop, in a procedural.
Mayor of Easttown. Very same kind of credits. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. And then basically that's where we think the show is going to go. But then we do find out at the end of the episode that she essentially is basically been kidnapped, and she gets under the influence of Wanda's spell and gets broken out.
Right.
So kind of a cool way to reacquaint ourselves with that world, how it was manipulative, had dealt with different genres, and we're kind of put there. So basically, Rio is a character that's introduced as one of the characters in the drama,
right?
And basically, they have a battle, and that's kind of where it ends. So we're not really sure what her role is,
right,
but we know that Agatha knows her, and we go from there. So Charlie, the series, do you think that was a strong beginning for Agatha?
I'm trying to remember if it was at the end of because again, that first block was the 2 episodes, and I'm trying to remember if the second episode ends with them having assembled their little gang of Avengers and then entering this, metamorphosis of the Witch's Road. I feel like that was at the end of the second episode.
That's the end of the second episode.
Gotcha. Yeah. So at the end of the first episode, we get because within the Mayor of Easttown fantasy, you see Aubrey Plaza's character, and she says things like, "Do you even within the program?" Because Agatha's character is very standoffish with Aubrey's character, so Aubrey will say things like, "Do you even really remember why you hate me so much?" And no, I really don't. And of which we do obviously find out, but at the end of the Witch's Road, very sad story. But yeah, the Joe Locke, who is the teen, manages to snap Agatha out of the spell, and we do find out whether it's in this episode. I think it's in one of I think it's in the teen story, which is a little bit further on down the series, that she has literally been in the house, simply imagining driving a car by sitting at her dining room table and walking around and thinking that she's doing cop stuff. So it was very surreal, because again, the way Agatha left off was simply that Wanda snapped her fingers and Agatha was restored to her kind of 1950s appearance. So this was a real switch. So you have to remember, like over the next 3 years, did she cycle through different sitcoms? Like, she was in Small Wonder for a little while, and then she was in, Family Matters for a little while. I mean, it's just, but now she's in this, instead of being in a fun sitcom, she's in this very serious, dire procedural where she finds a dead body in the woods that is very clearly supposed to be Wanda, but none of it's real.
Yeah, I think the rest of the shows were all kind of like sitcoms. This one was more procedural. So maybe it's the evolution of TV, and you get to the modern times and you see there's more like dramas that are more serious. So yeah, we're in that HBO now era. But yeah, this is all about Agatha has no powers and she wants to reclaim them. We are introduced to the Joe Locke character when we try to find more about him. He's got a sigil. He can't reveal who he is.
Yeah, when he speaks his name, he goes, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, exactly.
Very cool. And essentially, there's a part in this that we are kind of, you'll learn more about it, but basically the Witch's Road is kind of the key to all of this in one way or another, as we will find out more.
Right.
But this is all about her basically saying to use the Witch's Road, you need to form a coven and then take the journey together. You need to summon it, and the path will reveal itself. So we do get Alice. We get Lilia, Jen, basically all of these characters. The Green Witch, who was the mom from that 70s show.
Deborah Kitty.
Yep. So we do get these characters that are different characters. Patty Lupone is basically a clairvoyant.
Fortune teller, if you will.
Yep.
And then we get Sashir is the potions witch, so she uses her at different parts of it. She uses that to save or resuscitate, to try to save other characters. And
Alice is the protection witch,
right? And she is.
And what is Agatha? What is her role? Is she the?
Well, she's the villain. If ultimately what we find out about Aubrey's character is true, then does that simply make Agatha chaos? Is she the devil?
That's what I'm wondering. Is she a chaos witch? Because everybody has kind of a role as a witch in one of those tropes,
right? And noted, all of these witches agree to go with Agatha on her quest because they are all depowered for one reason or another. They can't use their magic.
It's out there to reclaim themselves.
So that's what they do. And then
well, there's a reason why they go, is because there's this group of evil spirits called the Seven, that starts chasing them.
Great adaptation from the Fantastic Four. If you go to about issue 186, 187, because I reread it recently, one of Agatha's prime issues of the Fantastic Four, where they end up back in Salem, and she's trying to protect young Franklin Richards, who's the child of Reed and Sue Storm, from this basically Salem 7, which is this powered group of, like, one of them's a big cobra, and one of them's, I can't remember them all now, but
there was a fox. They're different incarnations of nature.
It was just super colorful, and I just remember really loving it when I read it when I was a kid. So that brought it back for me. But yeah, they narrowly escaped the Seven converging on them in Agatha's basement to proceed down onto the road, which is another plane. And so over each witch has to endure a trial along the road, which each witch gets an episode to do exactly that. And so except for really Shashir's character gets like a quickie explanation at the end, which is I think in some ways kind of a ripoff, but in some ways it also kind of works out, because everything else that we saw, we get like Alice's trial is the great 70s recording studio Fleetwood Mac
musical,
because her
rock and roll.
Her mother was this famous Stevie Nicks like ingenue who recorded a pop music version of the Witch's Road anthem, which sold billions of records. And
the first one is with Sharon. It's basically the Real Housewives. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, a lot of drinking, a lot of women, and that's why when they drink first, they get all the bad plastic surgery, and all of them have drank. And then we find out that Agatha did not drink. And unless they all drink and go through this and then finally solve the issue, it was Shazir Zameda that had to solve it with potions. Basically, she gathered generic things to solve that one. But then we had our first casualty.
Right, yeah, that's when Deborah Jo Rupp's character dies, and because she was appointed the Green Witch, but she didn't have any inclination of whatever the hell was going on anyway. So she was obvious cannon fodder. But then Aubrey Plaza pops back up, and she says, "I'm the Green Witch, or I'm the Green Witch." She goes real mental. So you think, oh, she's just another person on the road, but that's not her real identity. But that's going to be a little bit further on down the road that we find out about that. But each one of the witches subsequently have a trial. The one that sent us backwards to watch the previous 6 episodes, and then this one again was Patty Lupone's character's trial in the room of the swords, where we find out that she is a time traveler, and she has been bouncing. First of all, she's she's 700-800 years old, because we do see her as a youth, because in that first trial everyone was kind of seeing their past, and Patty Lupone was seeing herself as a pre-teenager in Elizabethan times. So we find out that her curse, her gift, is that she shifts kind of out of control through time. And so there's a little noise, and then she would say something like, "I love all of you," like apropos of nothing. You know what I mean? And so
Exactly.
they brought it all back together within her trial. But with every trial, the witch in question dies. So Alice dies, Patty dies, but Shaseer, so we get all the way, we get the teen story, which is great. So we go back to the end of WandaVision, but over in Eastview, which is a neighboring town. And Billy Kaplan is a young Jewish boy having his bar mitzvah, and everything's going. But Patty Lupone is there as a fortune teller, so that draws her into the story. But the bar mitzvah is broken up because there's an announcement that the Westview anomaly is collapsing and everyone needs to return home. But as Billy's parents are driving him home, they get run off the road. They crash into a car, and Billy dies. His parents are fine, but as the anomaly collapsed, Billy's body is inhabited by the retreating spirit that is young Billy Maximoff, Wanda's imaginary child. But he obviously can't tell anybody about this because nobody would believe or understand it. So flashing forward the same 3 years to bring us to the current part of the story, he has been studying witchcraft, the family business. But he has Billy's abilities, which is telepathy. But by studying the book, that's how he's able to go. And that's how we find out that really everything that's been going on with Agatha is her trapped inside her house, because it's all happening in her mind. And he frees her by doing blah, blah, blah spell, grabbing something of hers and reading a passage and something. So that kind of draws us back a little bit closer to the end, because Patty's dead now. Alice has died.
Well, yeah, because Patty, she essentially sacrifices herself by utilizing gravity. Mm-hmm. Like, it's basically she's playing tarot, right? And she's using the cards to do things and has to make the tower fall because the 7 appear. And there's been these swords that have been dropping down, right. And Patty finally figures out what's going on, right, why she's going through time, and she's even with Shaseer, she's going through these different things and memories, and then figures like, I have to go here. You don't have to if you don't want to, but they do it, and then the basically everyone escapes, and she shifts the tower upside down. The 7 perish, and so does Patty Lupone, right. And that's kind of amazing. So it was really cool. I mean, it wasn't themed like the puzzle was cool, but it wasn't themed to like an era. Yeah. It was just felt like it was just a standard puzzle, which was cool. Yeah, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. So we've now gotten to the point where we just have Agatha and Jen Shaseer and the teen, and they're in the final trial room, and this is when we're to the now episodes 8 and 9, so we're to the kind of the final night, and this is where we get kind of a quickie. Agatha and Jen are having an argument, and you find out that it's Agatha who 100 years hence, because obviously all these these witches are all incredibly long lived, but she was the one who had placed a curse on Jen back in the day.
Well, yeah, so we get basically episode 8 feels like, oh, that's it. End of story.
Right.
Where essentially there's the big battle with Rio. Jen saves her. Jen is able to escape, to survive.
She escapes, yeah.
Yeah, and then basically it's Agatha and Billy versus Rio.
Right, yeah.
So they come back.
The big, fight out, and it's they're off the road. They're in, Agatha's backyard. And it's not what you were really expecting, because at the end, Billy now manifests his full power, and he's ready to fight. But you can't beat death. Death is unbeatable. No. That would be, in the classic comic parlance, Thanos' real goal was to love death, and have death as his lover, and to please her by destroying half the universe, because that's what that's how she gets off. You know what I'm saying? Authentically speaking. So that's interesting. Josh Brolin and Aubrey Plaza is a couple. I'm telling you, ship it. Thanos. How do you ship Thanos to death? How do you make a relationship name out of those two?
Don't know. And Deadpool also was very attracted to death for a long time.
Yeah.
They had a relationship. But we do get a feel like, oh, Agatha sacrificed herself to save Billy. And so Agatha goes into the ground covered basically in flowers and thing, and then death disperses and you think it's over. You're like, oh, that's the end of the road.
Agatha had thrown herself away, but it does not. Now we get the beginning of episode 9, and we are now past the introduction of Agatha, which happened in WandaVision. We saw that she was tied to a stake, and her mother and Coven were trying to kill her, but Agatha's too powerful. She flipped the script. She sucked all them dry. And now
those became the 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the origin of the 7.
Exactly. Correct. So, but now we flip to Agatha running through the woods. She's very, very pregnant, going to have a child. Don't know much more about that, but she lays down, births the child, and death shows up. So she sees death, and she sees Aubrey Plaza in the distance, and she says, no, let me keep him. Let me keep him if it's just for a while. Let me keep him. And she goes, I'll be back. You just won't know when. And she's out. And we flash forward through time, and the boy starts to grow up, and it turns into the ultimate grift. They're
distraction.
They're a duo. They're a duo. So as Agatha continues to travel around, I'm assuming just New England, she finds other witches that she can absorb power from. But the young boy, what's the little boy's name? It's
Nicholas.
Nicholas, yeah, Nicholas Nickleby.
Yeah, Nicholas Scratch, like the devil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nicholas will draw them in by saying, "Oh, can you walk me home? I need a blah blah blah," and lead them into a spot. And Agatha will kill them.
Well, she does the flim flam, like basically sells the story of the Witch's Road.
Yeah,
you see her through time selling the same story, stealing all the witch's power.
Well, don't get too far ahead now, because before that happens, they're running around doing their thing. The Witch's Road song is a song that Nicholas and his mother make up, and they sing
the winding road. It's the winding road versus
they're singing to each other. But one night, they're because they just live in the woods, because that's what witches do. They go to bed, and in the dreams of Agatha, in a shared dream, perhaps Nicholas, death comes back, ushers the boy over, and they walk off into the woods. And then when Agatha wakes up the next morning, the boy has passed, because that was the time that she got. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So Agatha just becomes hell bent. Now she's got to do it all on her own. But you see her then over the next 300 years, and I love that time shift. Then it's the Victorian era. Then we're in the flapper era, the 1920s. Then it's the 80s. Then it's the early 2000s, and she's gathering covens together to sing the song, and she just keeps killing them and sucking them dry until she obviously ends up in Westview, New Jersey, figuring out that Agatha is the bomb. So she creates the whole Westview anomaly, and then that moves the story forward.
Yeah, can absorb the Scarlet Witch, and then you do get to see a note why the plot kind of finally works.
Right.
Is because of Billy, where Billy essentially made the road be summoned, because the road is not real.
Right.
And that's where it all kind of came together. And she didn't get a chance to absorb them because it worked.
Right.
So it was kind of a turn of the screw. Nicholas said, "Why do you do this, Mom?" And, quite honestly, I don't know if she needed to. I'm assuming she just needed to absorb their power so she could live forever.
Right.
But all the other witches lived a long time too, and they didn't suck power. So I'm not sure.
That is a little fuzzy. You don't really know why those, but maybe that was part of their power set.
Maybe she thought she got power, she could bring him back from death. I don't know. It wasn't really described.
Maybe she really didn't need that to live. Yeah, but you're right. Maybe she was just sucking in so much power because she thought it's kind of like Anakin Skywalker, like, oh, my new powers can save you, Padme. I can bring her back from the dead. The same kind of deal. So, but there was nobody really plucking her strings. So we're in episode 9. We get that whole Agatha backstory. Agatha is still dead, but then Billy finds himself just in his bedroom, looking, and he does come to that realization that he manifested everything. And then Agatha appears as a ghost. We've got Casper, the unfriendly ghost. And it's interesting. She has taken on more of the appearance of the classic 1970s Agatha from the Fantastic Four.
White hair, long, wispy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they essentially wrap the series by saying, let's team up. Let's go find Tommy, who is the brother who did not survive.
He chose not to. He was going to banish her because he's like, I'm going to kill you. But when she finally came forward and said why she did this all and all the things, essentially she was afraid to see her son, face him. And that's why I went. So basically after a while, he's like, okay, maybe you can be helpful and maybe find your true self along the way, actually get some repentance and help him. And then the whole plot now is to find Tommy, who also needs a body to go into to get drawn in, and which could then lead to, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know where this is going next. We really don't.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, so they go off and it's cut camera. So wow. It was to say it was a journey is kind of an understatement. Todd, you and I talk a lot about how these things can be very samey. Not every character needs a story. Not everybody needs 6 episodes and 12 novels or whatever it is. This was, to me, even really different, even noticeably different than the show that spawned it. I think this had definitely a different emotional core. I think it told a very different story. In a lot of ways, I think it kept you kind of guessing until the end. I certainly didn't get the turn that the teen manifested everything that happened, which is funny because that's how he came into existence, not only within the WandaVision series, but in the, Avengers West Coast John Byrne story that spawned the twins. Wanda simply manifested those children with the power of her thoughts. And that's what this kid did with the road, which is, I thought it was a compelling story. Everybody I talked to, I know Mark really felt that way. I know he wanted to be here with us tonight. April, this is definitely her favorite thing. I know you said you and Chris watched this together. This was checking boxes that you didn't even necessarily know were boxes that had to be checked. I think they really nailed it.
I enjoyed it, but I thought it struggled sometimes with tone. Mm-hmm. And I also thought it suffered with pacing. I thought some episodes worked. I thought other episodes didn't. Sometimes it felt formulaic. Sometimes it was doing its own thing. Like, I really liked the ending. Some of the episodes in the middle, I'm kind of like, let's go somewhere. Let's do something.
I will admit it did follow a streaming series. We got 8 episodes. One of them is going to be a flashback about this, and one of them is going to take this aspect of it. It almost seems inevitable. I don't know, because nobody seems to really break that mold. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that's necessary or why it's so frequently kind of revisited upon. There's not a great answer to that one. But on the whole, Marvel needed something that was non-Marvel to not be like, and now we found a way, we tied this into Spider-Man, and it didn't have any, and it didn't like, and at the end they're going to bring back the Scarlet Witch. No, they didn't. That would have been too much of the the cork board with all the red string on it. It would have been too much. And they didn't go there, and thank God they chose to kind of tell their own story and stick to their guns with that, and that I think is what made it work.
I think the only part that was probably challenging for some people was the Tommy and Billy and the Scarlet Witch pieces, where if you didn't have that understanding, didn't watch it like previously on or something like that, the impact would not have been as strong, right? Because you're like, who are they? Why is this a big deal? Who's the Scarlet Witch?
It's probably a big if, but if somebody is watching this, they watch Disney Plus Marvel shows. So I don't think, but
except Chris, who didn't only watch like 2 episodes of WandaVision, hasn't caught up with anything. So I think a lot of people did jump on it because it looked like, it's Catherine Hahn. It looks really interesting. It's witches. It's very Halloween-y. I'll jump in.
Because the WandaVision really was not. That was on in the first part of that year. I don't know. I think but the counterpoint to that is that's a reason that the Marvels failed, because you had three. I had the same conversation with somebody earlier, a coworker of mine last week. The Marvels, you had three characters, two of which came from Disney Plus shows that were vastly different in tone, that you don't know if people saw them at all. So people were saying, oh, okay, it's it's a character I knew from the first movie. It's completely tonally different. There's two new characters, and it's why it was a flop. You know what I mean? In my opinion. So yes, the crossover piece between the Marvel TV and the Marvel movies is very iffy, but the cross pollination in this regard, to me, I mean, I feel like it worked.
It wasn't heavy lifting. It just was a scenario where I think if you did not know that and you showed up and said, why does Billy matter? And Scarlet Witch, what's the impact and what's the connection? It feels less than versus saying those characters weren't involved. It was just a story of Agatha.
Yeah.
And you could say, okay, standalone, it's perfect because jump in and the stakes are all about Agatha versus really stakes were really about
stakes are about vampires. You got that wrong.
Yes.
Wrong
The stakes were really at the end of the day. It ended up being Billy being kind of the
Billy.
the comments. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, and it wasn't perfect for me, but it nailed a lot.
So what would you conjure up out of 10
fingers?
10 severed fingers?
I mean, I'd give it like a 7.5, 8. I mean, somewhere in there. I mean, like 7 3/4 to an 8.
3/4 of a finger. This was a 9er for me. The only part of it that I liked and didn't like was everybody got a trial and everybody got a backstory except for Jen. But at the end of it, Jen survives and she has her power back, but she's able to, you get like a 2-minute, like, oh, well, if I unbind myself from Agatha, I get my power back. That just felt very convenient. But
well, I would say Jen's trial was the first one in a way because she solved it
and lived
with her potions,
which nobody else did.
Yeah,
that's fair. But she stuck around for a long bit of it. But she's the character who, that's their connective tissue to something in the future, is that, okay, well, now Jen goes off, and does she come back around again at a potential second season where you have the Ghost and Billy show, and maybe they're going to have beef, and Rio comes back, and is that going to be end of Jen? Who knows?
And who knows, considering we're not even getting an X-Men movie until 2028. So quite honestly, I would only have one season of this and get X-Men sooner is my,
I don't know. That's the zero-sum game you're making it out to be. But then again, look at Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It is. Oh my gosh. Well, any final thoughts? Are we good?
No, I thought the use of music was pretty good, although the song, after a while, considering it wasn't a very deep song, didn't have a lot of... After a while, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're doing it again.
Yep.
It was catchy, but I like that because, the song really brought things together. So I enjoyed that.
Right. And everybody's out there humming. You'll hear it at every witch divination festival, which we went to one earlier that was the lifestyle that April, long before I met her, was very, very into. The divination society here in West Michigan. There's a big culture, which is funny in a town like Grand Rapids, but you know what? You never know. Wow. All right. Well, that is the show. Everybody, thank you as always for joining us. Don't forget that the mailbag is open over at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Drop us a letter. I know it's not the 1990s, but you're still welcome to write us a note. Tell us what you're thinking about.
DM us on Instagram.
DM us on the Gram, or better yet, as Todd will tell you when we do the where to find. Todd, where do people find you, and where do people talk to us?
On Threads and Instagram at Toxtra, at Secret Friends Unite. You can DM me on Instagram, either places. Threads still does not have DMs, which sucks, but that's still the best way because they're really linked now with Facebook. The Fediverse is kind of all together. Some people are looking to Blue Sky, but quite honestly, I don't need an 80th social media outlet.
My mind. Yeah, I'm reading a lot of people because after the election, a lot of celebs that I follow and I have met, a lot of Star Trek people, have finally dumped X. Thank God. I dumped X a long time ago, and I'm glad that I did. Threads, same thing with me. I'm on Threads. I'm on Instagram at the C3, TheCeeThree, where I'm just having a good time posting pictures about silly stuff, but also really wanting to have geek conversations over there at the Secret Friends Unite Discord. We've got about 80 folks in there talking about geek stuff and having a good time. I also run a Discord called the United Trekkers of Michigan, which is just folks talking about Star Trek and having fun. And you don't even have to live in Michigan, but I had to call it something. So with that,
and
Yes.
I was going to say, and if you can't figure out how to get on Discord, DM us and we'll make sure you get an invite.
You get a link and you can follow that bad boy, and it's not hard. So if you're curious, and again, if that's too much for you, send us an email and we'll send you a link there. It's no problem. We will find a way to get you connected. That is our.
And it'll probably go to our spam folder.
No, boo! God, it's so negative. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to tell you, friends, one more time. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In the trunk.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.